Okay, call back. Good evening, everybody. We're gonna call our meeting to order, and would you please take the roll?
Councilmember Pointer. Here. Councilmember Gray.
Here.
Councilmember Schmidt. Here. Councilmember Dietrich.
Here.
He'll be here as soon as he can get here. So, first we have a special meeting item tonight. We have, need a motion to approve resolution 85, and that's approving the preliminary and final plat of Spring Branch Creek Second Subdivision. I'll let you speak to that, Tim.
Yeah, so this is a second subdivision of Spring Branch Creek. This is located along Trout Entry Road, Kingfisher Road, as it goes back west towards town. It's within a quarter mile of the city limits of the east end of town. Nick LaRosa is here. He's the one that's working with Mr. Krogman as he's splitting those lots off for future development. If you have any questions there.
And I think they've sold one of the properties. Is that correct?
They're in the process of selling one,
Yeah.
but in order for them to complete that sale, they have to have a legal description of the property.
Right. Any questions for Nick? All right, hearing none, I entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion.
I'll second that. Yeah. Any other discussion? Brian,
Yes.
Linda?
Yes.
Mary Ann?
Yes.
And Joe?
Yes.
Okay. And I need a motion to adjourn the special meeting.
I'll make a motion. Second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, we are out of that, and now we will go into our work session with our airport committee tonight. So, thank you, Nick.
Thank you, Nick.
Have a
Thanks
good-
for all your time.
If you want, I can go ahead and get started on that.
That would be perfect.
We do have the, Kirk and Michael team here. Online, we have Corey Gaston, Alexa Hazelton, and Eric Johnson. In the audience, we do have, Anthony Bargett as well, so they are here to be able to answer any technical questions.
Okay.
As far as the rest of the stuff that we're going to talk about, we do have the airport committee members here. The three of them here sitting at the table is Pat Schmitz, Jim Fisher, and Dean Sherman. Basically, because this is being recorded and everybody has trouble hearing, I wanted the people that'll be speaking up close to the microphones and the cameras so they can be seen. If anyone else is going to speak, I would ask that they stand, and hopefully we can still see them on the camera and who's ever speaking. So the first thing on the agenda here is an update on the runway rehabilitation project. And Alexa, I'm gonna put you on the spot if you're available.
Everybody's phone is reacting.
I know.
I got the other one.
Yes,
Alexa,
I
if you
am,
want
Tim.
to-
Are you able to hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you. Can you give us an
Okay.
update on the contract for the runway project?
Yeah, so the first set of contracts that we received back from River City Paving had some comments and addendums that they wanted to see added to the contract per their legal team. Kirk and Michael looked through this, talked internally about some of those items that they requested, and some of those went against what was in the other aspects of the spec documents. So we made those changes that were in the best interest of the city of Manchester, got those resent, and they are being signed and will be sent back. Once we have those, we can look at a start date for this. I know the intent is to not do any work this fall. We'd like to move that to the spring, and River City Paving is okay with waiting to start that in the spring. We'll have a better update on an actual start date sometime in February or March.
So part of the challenge is obviously with the weather getting colder, the asphalt plant, when that shuts down, then timing with River City Paving. So they're still gonna hold their money to their bid price, so we're still good. Get it started in the spring. We're gonna have a busy year next year out at the airport. And so what we wanna do is make sure we have things identified and ready to go. So ideally, we'll have this as one of the first projects they do in the spring. Because again, we do have crop sprayers out there at the airport, so the month of July and August typically are busy months for them to do their work. And then in September, we'll have an event going on out there we'll get to later on as well, so. All things considered, this isn't the worst thing, we're still working with the FAA, they're fine with it, and so we're gonna be able to get this project moving. They came in well under what the estimated budget was. And again, it qualifies for 95.5 match, so 95% of the value of this project will be paid for through FAA funds. whether it's through our IIJA funds, which used to be bill funding, you know, substituted as IIJA, or it's gonna be our entitlement funds, our AIP funds that we get every year. So we do have the funding to cover the project. We have some leftover funds that will be expiring if they're not used. But first, let's talk about the rehabilitation project. Are there any questions on that?
What was changed?
The language that the contractor wanted to use in the contract language itself. And so, they had to review those and turn it back. Alexa, do you have a better grasp on some of the things they were asking for language substitutions, or Corey?
Yeah, a couple of the things they wanted in there, there was some old language about you as the city of Manchester being able to take any of their equipment if they had gone into any sort of delays and doing projects on your own with their equipment. There was some requests for clarification on payment schedules, which is already defined within our spec documents. So just a couple, like Tim mentioned, loose odds and ends. Nothing that changes the project. It's more, how is the project being paid? If there's a timeline, which for your information, once you receive reimbursements from FAA, then you'll pay that out to the contractor. And nothing else major.
Okay,
Okay, I have a question. FAA has accepted the project? I just want to be sure about.
yes, the FAA has accepted the project, and we were awarded the funds for the project.
Correct.
And we've met all the criteria as far as on their part.
At this point, yes, we have. We are not in danger of the FAA rescinding those funds at this time,
Even going into.
even going into the spring. They'd like us to be under contract. They understand there are certain things happen, so they're working with us. Other questions?
They have to submit the bills to us though before we submit those into
Correct.
the FAA for that.
Yeah. And this is really a small project. I really anticipate only seeing 2 pay estimates on this, maybe 3 with the
Right,
third one being the final.
right.
Again, it's putting in drain line tiles along the edge of the runway and then resurfacing and depth patching in a few places.
Yeah, we had some timing aspects that we wanted to avoid the crop season for the agricultural spraying, so some of that was holding it back this summer. But I think it's good to do a spring project where the asphalt temperatures are more, they're higher than a fall one where we may get a, lower quality product. So I think we're good with that.
Because initial plans were, it was supposed to be done.
Done by,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, and so that's why
that's just it. We worked with the FAA, but the timing of things, again, some of the holdup was the FAA themselves. They didn't get us the award to the contract until much later than what they normally typically do. So that's the reason they're working.
And we stretched another year out of the one we had, so.
Mhm. Any further questions? Anybody on that? If not, we'll move on to the next item.
Okay, airport capital improvement plan. Again, it's the time of year where we start working on our CIPs. Not only does the city do our CIPs at this point in time, so does the FAA and the state DOT FAA department. And so we are working on that and getting that prepped. Part of the thing we want to talk about is we want to make sure we have the same goals and plans the council does as we move forward to submission. So one of the things we want to talk about are what are the council's thoughts. We have some ideas what we'd like to do. We want to see where the council is at and make sure we align our goals. So with that, Pat, I'm gonna let you talk a little bit about a couple of the options we have.
Yes, well, what brought this up was the fact that the original runway project came in well below its projected estimate. And, that funding was approved for us based on that estimate. And so the question within the airport council was, do we want to relinquish that money if we have approval for it? And this is a good year with a 5% match, 95.5. Next year, it will go back to 90.10. And so there are times where you have kind of a better opportunity. So we discussed the fact that we, have had a number of people contact us about additional hangar space again this year. We obviously are two spaces down with the removal of the two hangars in the prior years. And we're probably 3 years out for a T hangar project of some sort. It just takes time to get those engineered. And so one of the things that we talked about was the possibility, is it an option? Can the city use some of this leftover funding since it's pre-approved? And you might theoretically have to return it if you don't use it. Could you buy a hangar? You know, can you buy a pre-existing hangar, like let's say George's as an example, or ours? We'll just build another one. And, you know, the thought process is that the FAA would go through an appraisal process. They would go through a structural analysis to make sure that it's got the appropriate lifespan. But we can privately build a structure faster, cheaper, probably a third of the cost. And kind of, not that we're trying to circumvent the FAA process, but we just don't have to do that when it's a private construction. And that would be a way for us to grow the base, have more rental income, and then the city would have an asset that they would have rental income from. And so, you know, we just kind of did a thumbnail sketch of that. If, you know, the hangars that are out there, if that's something that the appraisal would cover and it would work, I think we're all happy with what we have. I talked to George and he's happy with what he has. But if it would help us grow and it's money we have that you guys wouldn't have to maybe send back, if the FAA would support it and if the city council would support it, it would be a way for us to bring in another $5,000 or $10,000 a year in income to the airport.
How much money is left over?
We have $113,000 in IIJA funds that is a one-time funding. So if we don't use it, that goes back and it'll never be recovered again. We typically get about $150,000 a year in airport improvement plan funds, AIP funds. Again, these are funds that are allocated to the airport, but they are not programmed or provided to the airport until we have an eligible expense. So then we have a project. Now, the city can take 4 years of AIP funds and combine them, so we get up to $600,000 that we can use towards a project. But after the 4th year, if those funds aren't allocated or locked up, they get returned. In the state of Iowa, we've done this a couple times now where the city of Manchester has had to return that $150,000 because we did not have a project that was eligible for those funds. They were set to expire and they went to another airport inside the state. So they stayed at least in the state and went to another airport that was going to be able to use those funds. So there is some potential there, but it's the IIJA funds that is one-time money. If you don't use it, you lose it.
Yeah.
So
Well, and mathematically, I want to answer your question, but just to give you a picture of what that might look like, and this is all, you know, subjective at this point, but let's say they appraised the hangar at 200,000. It's probably going to cost 200 to replace it, maybe more. But if it were to, you would have to put 10,000 with that. And it would bring about 5,400 a year in rent from 3 planes. So it'd have about a 2-year payback. And then you have,
As long
as long as they are,
they
that's
stay
correct.
full.
The other thing is it would give you control, I guess, more control of having those hangars up front by the Welcome Center. But again, I'm not asking you to do this. This is just kind
It's
of
an
an offer.
option that is available for the council. to
If
consider.
the FAA would agree to it and you guys are wanting to, and that's just to keep from having to send the money back. That's all.
Now,
what I would like to know is, we don't have the 10 planes that we need now.
That's what we're trying to fix.
That, you're trying to fix it, but you just build it, you know, it'd be like building a house and then trying to get somebody to get in that house. I mean, you don't have the planes now.
Well, we have,
And I was saying, all right, now we're gonna build a hangar, but we can't even get 10 planes now. How are you gonna fill that hangar?
well, we don't have any place to put them right now. It's the
Right,
issue.
right.
We've had people that call and want to rent. But we don't, you know, unless we put them in our hangars, which we didn't build it to have other people in there. And technically I can't even rent in there. I don't have the proper insurance and I would be a commercial building and I'm not set up to do that. And so there's a whole lot of changes there that would even be required if we wanted to do that. But essentially, The issue is that we are getting calls from people and we're turning them away because it's 3 years out to get something for them. I'm trying to find a way to get you that, the ability to say yes today, and it would be, you know, $5,000 or $6,000 a year in rental income. You know, again, a 2-year return, 95% of it paid for with the money you already have from the Fed, and potentially just not having to return it. And so really, we're not asking you to do this. We're just saying, hey, this is something we could do. Do you guys have interest in it?
I have a question. Do you have a list of people that have committed? We'll put some money down and say, hey, we really want this, or it's just all?
Well, we've got 2 right now that don't have a place, that are in Old Wine that want to come here. We've got another gentleman which has been at Independence that is currently in a hangar here. And he's going to have to leave at some point because the plane that belongs in that hangar is coming back. But he wants to be here. So yeah, the problem is, Linda, a lot of times people can't let their plane sit outside because they're just not made to sit out like that. So they don't have the luxury of kind of just sitting on hold, waiting for that hangar to come. If they can't get something here, they gotta go somewhere else. And so that, it's a timing thing.
And part of the challenge is just having the hangar space readily available when someone's ready to have it or to use it. Because it does take quite a while to go through the process to build them. It's no different than Joe in the storage. If you don't have space available today,
Right.
you can't rent today.
I'm always,
Well,
I get the
and-
phone call and ask them, am I gonna build one?
Privately, if I wanted to build a spec hangar as an example, like we do for the storage business. I'm competing against Independence and Old Wine where they've got a 95.5 match, so I can't. This is a 50% ROI for the city, return on investment. For us to do that and rent it for that same $150 a month, it's probably a 5% ROI, it just doesn't work. Cost of money is more than that. So it's just an opportunity if you have an appetite for it.
How long does it usually take to put up a hangar? Just a broad idea.
Normally, if you have to go through the FAA approval process, it can take a year. But we have done an ALP, an airport layout plan, which has pre-approved, can I use this? Yeah. Pre-approved design locations, that's the peach colored stuff on here. So as long as it's in those places, we can, you know, within reason, we can do that. But the one thing I want to make sure is all of this stuff out to the west requires taxiways. So really that's kind of a separate project that we would have to do ahead. But we do have 2 spots today that are on that existing asphalt area that could be built without any taxiway.
Right next to where we parked that time we came out there.
Correct. Yeah, so we are just, as a steward, trying to look at this and go, hey, well, there's an opportunity here for 2. If we can build one for the same amount of money that we would sell it, so we're basically break even. And you guys can get $5,000 or $6,000 rental income. It kind of helps to start to fund the airport a little bit more organically. Again, it's a lot of work and time to build it. You know, we just were talking about that before the meeting, so it's not necessarily something that we're really chomping at the bit to do, but it is an opportunity if you guys want to do it.
What's the cost of a taxiway?
It depends on the length of the taxiway that you're looking at and how we construct it. With asphalt, we can do quite a bit. So there's a couple different taxiways we're talking about. One of them was further up north, about halfway, or not even quite halfway down the runway, to extend further to the west to serve T hangars.
For future expansion, but for this building we're talking about,
They don't need
it's
it.
already there. It's there and we don't need to add
Yeah.
anything for it.
So we got spots for 2 50 by 50 hangars, I believe they are.
Without adding.
Correct.
Without anything
Yeah.
adding, other than what they would add for their approach to get into the building from the taxiway.
What's the insurance cost of a hangar?
I couldn't tell you right off the top of my head.
Yeah, I don't know what it is for the city, but for us, it's about $1,200 a year.
Yeah,
Roughly.
they have to provide us with a certificate of insurance when they submit.
Yep.
these.
Yeah, but as far as what the city has, we have the T hangar, which
We don't, I mean, ours is just for the ground.
Insurance would be passed on to the.
Yeah, the renter.
yeah, but if the city has municipal hangar that we're renting out individual spots,
Oh,
we would have to have that insurance on there. I can't believe it would be that much, but I would have to look into it.
Yeah, and I think part of the reason ours is 12 is simply because we don't own the land under it. There's just some risk factors there too, so.
Some of that might depend on who's renting it, how many planes they wanna put in it, that could be negotiated.
Yeah.
For what upkeep on your hangar? What are we talking for upkeep? I'm just trying to wring out every little drop that.
I would say, I mean, for us, it's property taxes, which is about 1,000 a year. You guys wouldn't have that.
Well, we would actually, if we're gonna use that as rental.
Okay, so that's
That's where we would
one.
pass that on to.
So I'm just trying to look at
Yeah.
your 5,000 and then.
And we-
Start chunking that down, really.
We have-
We,
What's our utilities? 100 for that building?
Well, ish, because we've got.
Yeah, I mean, we have,
flames control inside our
Yeah.
building.
we have the furnace running it in the winter and stuff like that to keep it warm, but I would say it's average between $80 and $100.
and we'd be talking about a climate control.
Unnecessary.
Yeah, you wouldn't have to.
We
We just,
could take the water out of it. Again, if we were to build one, we wouldn't put water into it.
well, and to be fair, the water's a hydrant. It's shut off below the frost line, so there's no issue there. That was just something we were able to take advantage of because it was there, but I would say probably, market rent for a cold tea hanger in Independence, Monticello, they're probably in the 150 to 170 range. You could charge more for a heated hanger. You could probably be 225 or 250 potentially.
So
So,
for me, I would like to see if we could get a return of investments, done on this to make sure that we all understand, and this is throwing numbers out there. I would really like to see a return of investment. That if we're gonna do this, that, something's gonna transpire. here,
Yeah.
right?
well, and one other thing that I think is important too, we started this process by actually talking about doing a spec building for just a bare bones, metal on the outside, not heated, no water, simple, light bulb in the center, very simple. And then selling that as a way to take advantage of this unused funding, but we kind of figured out in that process that the FAA really kind of would look at that as that we're trying to end around their process. And so that's why we're like, well, maybe the other way is we could just sell one of our existing. So again, we weren't trying to self-serve on that. We were just looking at a way to maybe get that base issue taken care of and get you guys some additional revenue to support it. So
How many planes could you fit in your hangar?
I've had 6 in there, but in all honesty, that was for an air show event and it was just like Jenga. I mean, we had to work really hard to do that and there's a lot of, people don't want to do that. I think realistically, if you have a plane and it's in the back, you want to be able to get it out without moving a bunch of people's stuff. And so I think 3 is probably realistic.
Yeah, the biggest challenge is if you have to move someone else's plane, there's a lot of concern about the condition.
Yep, and that's why T hangers are ideal, for future development down the line, because, each one has their own and they pay for that space.
So that is one idea we talked about. The other idea is talked about maybe resurfacing the existing taxi that we have right now. Because the airport runway resurfacing project does not come into where the hangars are at. It's just strictly the runway. And we did that intentionally when we did this setup because we were trying to keep costs down. The cost came in much lower, so we could expand and potentially do a change order. Eric needs to talk with the FAA to see if that's potentially we could add on to cover the additional costs. The challenge with that is there is obviously no ROI on that. It's just, that's a maintenance thing. I don't have a problem with maintenance things, but those are 2 options we have. The FAA may consider that to be more important than having an additional hangar there. Because again, they look at the hangar as potentially, income for the cities. The same as our fuel system that needs to be replaced. Our underground tank out there needs to be redone. They look at fuel systems as being income generators and therefore that's a lower priority to them. For them, looking at airport safety, runway conditions, those are the things that drive them first. That's the thing.
They would probably look at the taxiway before they ever get.
We'll want to talk to them and see what we're looking at, because again, part of the challenge is in order for us to get back to that 10-based aircraft, we have to have places for it and indoor storage.
Yeah, and that was really the driving factor here is we needed to just understand what your appetite or willingness is to those couple options, because to communicate that to the FAA, we need to kind of know where you guys are. If you support that, if that's an option you would consider, if it's not an option at all. And so we're just trying to give you guys the details and see if any of those resonate with you in a way that I think kind of helps the airport move forward and use the investment that's there.
I think we still need to see some numbers specific, you know, I mean, you're not trying to get an answer tonight that we're gonna vote on anyway. but-
No.
But to me, you know, we need some hard numbers.
Yes.
That we can look at, but I like the option of the hangars because we can't build the size of our airport size by being number of planes. We can't do that unless we have the hangars. So we have to have the hangars. Now, I don't see us having the ability for us to build more hangars. So I think what you're offering is an amazing thing, to give us the chance to increase the number of planes. I know that you have, I mean, I've seen lists that you've had of people who would come here if they could. If they had the ability to get into a hangar, they would be in Manchester right now. So our numbers are lower, not because people don't want to be here, but because they can't be here.
Yeah.
And so I think you're offering something to us that would be, to me, way wrong to turn down. Because I do want to see our airport support a larger number of planes out there. So the only way we can do that is to have the hangars. You're giving us a golden opportunity.
It's certainly an option, is the way we're looking at it. And like I said, it would be cheaper to spec build something if we could sell that, because we could build it for a lot less. You know, it wouldn't be insulated, wouldn't have double liner steel and heat and that type of stuff.
Well, anytime a private person, excuse me, builds something, it's
Yeah.
gonna cost less than
Well,
it
and I
does
mean,
when the public builds it, because.
Theoretically,
that's
could
the
be
way
an
it is.
FBO for the city someday if you guys were able to attract a
You
mechanic.
want to state what the FBO is?
Yeah, a fixed base operator, so it'd be a service station. You know, we have mechanics that are licensed by the FAA to repair airplanes, do service work. And they're looking all the time for a place to rent. We did have a call, a month ago from a group that was interested in that as well. And, we just don't have a place for them. And if you owned a building that's heated and has all of that, you could say yes. You know, it might be a couple of years, but that just gives you options down the road, to exercise some of those things that would give
Well, the more planes,
revenue.
the more planes we would get, the more that option might be.
Right, would make more sense to have, yes.
So, there is kind of a third option too, in all fairness. We've done some research on this. I called Prairie du Chien, La Crosse, Red Wing, a number of the airports around this area. Prairie du Chien, as an example, they offer annual leases on the land only for $300, and that's what we did 20 years ago here when I signed mine. La Crosse is $1,000 a year, and then they have like a built-in escalator. So I asked them, I said, the reason, why is it that you're doing it? How do you determine your price? They're privately constructed, so they're not, they're giving the incentive to the builder to build their own, so the city doesn't have to put up any funds. And, Red Wing, as an example, has about 250 hangars on the field. They're mostly privately owned. And that's how they've done it. Same deal, is $300 a year.
I
So
can't believe it's that cheap.
it is, but
I can't even go private hunting on ground for $5,000,
yeah.
you know, I just can't. Wow.
I actually gave Tim a copy of the Prairie du Chien lease, so you guys can see that if you want to take a look at it, but theirs was $360, I think, a year. But that's how they're doing it, and so they don't have to put any city money up for the structure. And I'm not advocating that we necessarily do that, but maybe you want to do that to get to the 10. You know, if we could find a way to get there, so that's the third option. We just want to make sure that we stay with the appropriate NIPIAS counts. And one way or another, we get there to make sure that we keep our funding and that doesn't get taken away from us. So we're just trying to be good stewards and make sure that we're bulldozing out of the way any obstructions that keep us from getting there.
Just for, where are we with planes? We have 4 or 5 out there right now?
No, 8.
8. Yeah. Eight,
but not 8 out there right now. You said there was one somewhere else.
no, there actually, I think there are 8, because, who is it, Spencer Vandervoort? Has, he
Yeah,
has his
Spencer
plane there.
Vandervoort has
He's
his
the guy
plane.
that was over in Independence, he's a paramedic, I think, here in town and on the air care and, or Mercy Care.
Yeah, his plane's here so they can do, flight certification training.
Yeah.
Taylor,
he would like
our
it, you know.
newest, renter for the city's T hangar that we don't know. She does certified flight training.
Yeah.
And so she's doing some training and he has his own plane, so it's parked here so she can take him.
Yeah,
They can do their training in his plane.
and apparently he wants to be here, and I don't know if he's losing his spot in Independence or exactly what the issue is. I haven't spoken to him personally, but.
He wants to be our.
He would prefer to be in
And,
our.
you know, we would like him to be here, we just don't have him.
He's not, he's not registered here.
Counted as that guy.
Yeah, he's not registered here, he's registered in Independence.
Independence.
Right.
Even though his plane is currently on our airfield.
Yeah, and that's the key to that is that when we register our aircraft, we assign a base that is our home. And so,
Yeah.
you know, anybody that's here, that's kind of part of our lease. We want you to, this is home and you're based there, so you're
And
coming.
we have to have that for the Navy.
Well,
I mean, we have to have-
what do you need?
Yeah,
We need 10 airplanes here.
That's what their number is, and so we get below that, at 9, they're okay, because things change and fluctuate. But we're down to 8 right now, and that's where they get a little bit more concerned, if they continue to see it.
It'd be better to be at 12 or 13.
Yeah, I mean,
So
the-
you can always be
yep.
at 10.
The interesting thing is there's a lot more than that. I mean, there's probably 20 that are registered in Delaware County, and this is really the only airport that's in that, but it's just that they aren't here because they can't be. But Brian, the other thing too is, we've gotten a number of requests about it, and we're just trying to figure out how we can solve that issue and make sure that we're not constantly turning them away. Mitch wants to be here. We've got a number of them that are out there. We just don't have a spot. And because we took the other 2 hangars down.
There was 3 hangars actually.
3 hangars, yeah, those were scheduled to be taken down when the runway rehabilitation was done. So the FAA knew that, they knew there was gonna be a momentary lapse in our count because of that change. We just haven't been approved the funding to build the T hangars yet over there that will replace them, so they're pretty flexible on that, while they, know that we work through that.
When does the 95.5 go away?
October 1st, 2026. If we're not under contract or under an agreement with the FAA at that point, that's when we get the chip, we potentially lose that 113,000.
Pat, did you get an answer yet then from them as to whether or not that would be allowed for this?
You talked
idea?
about
The potential of buying the hangars.
We did get an answer from, Eric talked to FAA.
Mhm.
They said we'd have to have a structural engineer review
I knew that.
the hangar to verify that it has 15 years of life left into it. And then we have to have a certified appraiser appraise it and set the value. And that's where, again, there's some spending to get those done. And once you have that certified appraisal, that's when you start negotiating with the property owner as to acquisition. And again,
I
that's,
guess, did they get back to you with the resources, I guess,
we haven't talked about that, but I think our thought process was making sure that this was something you
Okay.
guys were even interested in.
before you go through
Yeah.
with it, makes
Yeah.
sense, yes.
I mean, we don't want to spend any money
Right.
and we'll try to minimize that at all costs, but that's just a necessary step that has to happen.
I
And it
remember.
might even be paid for by the funding, that they pay
it
for.
would be
Really like to see, I call it, a return on our investment for us,
Yeah,
before we were waiting for.
so that makes sense. And again, we're looking at options and we're trying to set up our capital for the plan. So this is the reason this joint session, so we can bounce ideas off of each other and make sure we're all working as a team and going the same direction.
a couple things too, like utility costs, probably 75% of our utility costs is basic fee, whether we use it or not. If we added that to the city's existing electrical utility, it's probably gonna be a very minor addition to that one. And that may be the case for insurance too, because a lot of times you gotta have a certain amount of that just to get a plan for it, so. But we can put together, an ROI analysis or breakdown on that.
And we'll just base it off a couple different ideas, because we don't really know what the appraised value is gonna be at. But we'll start looking at, okay, the appraised value comes in this, we know we'll have this for certified, Oh, that's the
Structural, yeah, and all,
structural engineering.
all we're hoping, I mean, I'm hoping, is that it's enough to replace it.
Mhm.
And, you know, I don't wanna make any money on it, I just wanna make sure that I'm not gonna go deep in the hole to sell it and have to spend more than that to replace it. So if we can, if we can get an appraised value that's roughly close to what the replacement cost is, then, you know, it's just a little work in our time to do it. But,
And we should be able to get insurance costs and garbage
Yeah.
costs pretty,
Yeah.
pretty easily
Mhm.
from our part.
right, and it may not be me, it might be Jordan, and, you know, that's up to you guys to decide. I'm willing to do it, or he said he might be willing to do it as well, so.
Again, a lot of it is, they wanna make sure they're whole.
And there's tax implications, if there's a gain on that or something, and we can't
Mhm.
transfer it to the other property, then with a 1031 or something, it may trigger a tax bill, which none of us want to pay either, so. Okay, I don't know, I think we've talked enough about that, is there
Yeah.
anything else?
I think that's pretty much it on our capital improvement plan. We're looking at, the taxiway, resurfacing, and then we're looking at hangars. Because again, the main thing here is to build base aircraft and maintain what we have.
And just look at options.
Are there any other questions on those things that we're working on there? Okay, airport operations, Pat, you wanna talk about, our upcoming event with
Yeah.
the fire convention?
So we were approached by the firefighters convention again. You may remember in 2018 and 2019, we did, the Friends of Army Aviation brought the Huey here, and we coordinated all that and basically kind of hosted that at the airport. The first one in 2018 was for Grumpy's dedication of the wall. And it was a very successful event. I think it was their record attendance ever in terms of rides. And for the organization, they're based out of Ozark, Alabama, and what they do, they're a 501c, not-for-profit. They operate under a federal program called the Heritage Ride Program. So it's a federally endorsed, very regimented program where they have a maintenance program, a training program, everything has to be done to qualify under that Heritage Ride Program. And what the existence of the program is about is just promoting, for veterans, the connection of that experience that they had in Vietnam with their children and their grandchildren, so that they can kind of connect the dots and say, oh, this is what grandpa or dad was doing and what that meant to him. And so, we were asked to do that again for this coming year's firefighters convention. And, so we're coordinating that right now with the Friends of Army Aviation in Ozark, for September 9th through the 12th. So it'd be basically, they'd probably arrive on Wednesday, the 9th. We figure the firefighters are just gonna be kind of arriving that day and setting up. So they'd be doing rides all day Thursday, all day Friday, and possibly all day Saturday. And we will also coordinate that event with the local veterans organizations, because really that's kind of the reason we're doing it. To make sure that we encourage them to come out, and then we try to set up sponsorships for the vets, so that they can have a rider come and sponsor the vets, similar to the honor flights. So that's underway. We've had 3 meetings with them, and we're basically kind of locked in. We do have a few details to work out. We gotta get a block of rooms for a hotel to support their staff, which is about 10 people, and then we have to line up about another 10 or 15 volunteers. And we've had like shuttle drivers, and we have sponsorships of a van or a bus to take them from the fairgrounds, and just kind of make sure the logistics of all of that are kind of ironed out, so.
What were you thinking the cost would be for a ride?
They were $50 then, and obviously everything's kind of risen. I think they're giving rides now at 80 something or 85. Again, we're gonna try to see if we can't maybe find ways to sponsor some of that a little bit for the vets at least, and for firefighters, I'm sure $80 is, I mean, we had them lined up 200 deep on the day. We're actually trying to get them to bring their second helicopter so we can have 2 operating, but.
Did any of you ride when they were here before? Did you? I did. It was exciting.
Yeah, and you can vouch that, I mean, they train you, they have you sit in chairs configured like the helicopter, they go through the safety, and I mean, they're even wiping out the earmuffs with safety stuff.
You really
so-
gotta trust that seatbelt.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, yes, but you gotta experience, you know, and a lot of us, it was emotional for a lot of people. It really was, and so we think it's worthwhile to do it again, and so we're excited to host that one more time.
And that's part of an open house that we're gonna have out at the airport, to provide more opportunities for people to come out and experience what's going on at the airport. There are some discussions about trying to get the flight simulator, out of, is it University of Iowa?
Rick Seeley has access to one at UNI, yeah.
And so you can sit down and actually practice flying, is it a Piper Cub?
Yeah, just the activities that would allow people to kind of keep busy while they're waiting for their turn, and, you know, we might even have like some events out there for the younger kids to experience, you know, some of the STEM related things that tie into the principles of flight and stuff. So a lot of it depends on making sure that we've got people to staff it.
Even tours of the facility are neat too. I
Yeah.
remember that when we had our Cub Scouts out there.
Yep, yeah.
Speaking of Cub Scouts, you wanna talk about events we've had?
Yeah, last fall, I don't remember the exact date, but we had the Boy Scouts out. This is probably the 8th or 10th time we've done that as well. And I think we had about 50 in attendance, including kids and parents. And we put together an event where we talk about aviation careers and kind of what it takes to become a pilot, and kind of tie that into the math and science aspects of education, just to kind of inspire them that some of the things they're learning really do have a purpose that they can use someday. And so we had a really good turnout from that. Even some of the parents were commenting after the event that they learned a lot from that. So I'm sure we'll do another one of those. We haven't been asked yet this year to do it, but when they ask, we do it. So.
And they earned a badge.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
And the other activity we've had out there is University of Iowa's held, flight training for their nursing training out there.
Yeah, they requalified all their staff in a sim truck, and they bring all the helicopters in, and that was just a couple weeks ago. I think we had like 6 helicopters here, so.
So there is some activity out there at the airport on a regular basis. It's just because of its location, it's not seen a lot. In the meantime, you know, Greg Woodley has been doing his aerial spraying in aviation, and he did the fungicide earlier, and I think they were doing some cover crops not too long ago. So things are wrapping up there with their operations for the year.
Yeah, I think everything's gone smoothly this year, and so. The only other thing is we have talked in the past about doing firefighter training, you know, for aircraft ops and stuff like that. So that might be something if it comes up that you guys want to do in springtime or something.
Yeah, they probably go through that. A lot of times on all situations, you know, even to have you guys out there pull a plane out just to,
Show them where the fuel shutoffs are. Yeah.
Are there any questions on airport operations? Does the airport committee have anything else they want to talk about? Any other concerns?
Thank you for your consideration.
Yeah.
It's been great to get together.
We'll try to do this once a year, and we'll provide updates, what's going on with the airport, and keep council informed.
Yeah, and I would say just in closing, I mean, ultimately, I think if you guys have conversations as a council that you guys kind of determine where you want us to go in terms of the direction there, that's what we're looking for, is just guidance and understanding what you want to do, so.
Well, if there's conversation about the airport, it'll be definitely done on camera.
Okay, yeah, that's fine.
you're gonna try to check in to see what it would cost for approximate the appraisal, or?
Yes, we'll get some estimates based on what administrative grant costs would be for that too. Because there'll be some engineering and grant application costs. Anytime we go through the FAA, we're getting free funding.
Free funding on that part of it,
Mhm.
right?
And it'll be a reimbursement. It's an eligible expenditure, provided we go through the process, right?
Right.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
All right.
Anything else then tonight, or any other questions? All right, I just need,
Thank Eric, Alexa, and Corey for joining us. Anthony, thank you so much.
okay.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks for having us.
Motion for auto, well, second,
You bet.
okay, we're adjourned.
All right, thank you.
Have a good night.
Thanks, guys.